Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's brand new and welcome to this video. So I'm going to be using a couple of different decks. This is my first tarot video so far, so I'm kind of excited to be doing this. It's the first time I'm doing it, and it's the first time I'm giving readings in this capacity. Hopefully you'll find it useful. So I just want to first of all say thank you for checking out this video. If you're watching, it's much appreciated, especially as I know there's tons of people already doing this, but hopefully you'll find this a little bit different and interesting to you. So first of all, I'm going to pull Dark Mirror, which is to do with the shadow work. So that's really important if you're dealing with some issues that are kind of underlying the surface. There's a lot of things that we kind of keep pushing to the back of our mind that's obviously stopping us from progressing forward and living happy, fulfilled lives. And the great thing about this oracle deck is that it brings those darker aspects of our being to the surface so that we can process it and deal with it and move on. So this is what I'm going to be pulling first, the Dark Mirror Oracle cards. And this is for the reading for mid to late August for Aquarius. So if you're watching Aquarius, you may find something very interesting in here that may be discussing some of the underlying issues that have been coming up for you. So what messages do we have for Aquarius? And this is Aquarius in Sun, Moon and Rising, or Ascendant as you may know it as also. And also in Venus, actually, if you have your Venus in Aquarius, this is going to be relevant to you as well, because this is very much to do with emotions and the more feminine aspects of our being. So what do we have for Aquarius for mid to late August? What messages do we have for Aquarius? Okay, now let's come out. So, envious gluttony. Okay, I will be explaining what these mean shortly. I just want to see if there's any more for you guys. Preferably I want at least 2 or 3. Well, 2 to 3 is the ideal, because there's usually more than just one thing going on, right? So I'll just have a look. Anything else for Aquarius for mid to late August 2019? Okay. Ooh. Right, okay. So what we have first of all is what they call the Envious Gluttony card. Now this card is very primal in that, it discusses the deeper aspects of ourselves that we wouldn't like others to see. I mean, as do all the cards, but this in particular is not a very flattering card. So I will read this to you from the book so you can get a better insight. Going dark. This card is not just dark, it is unpleasant, sickly disgusting. The difference in how we feel in front of a vampire as opposed to in front of a writhing bugs. It's not existential darkness that we can paint of romance and drama and subtle anguish. It is raw, primal, reeking of rotting stench. It feels like there is darkness, and in that black landscape there is a hole leading to an even greater darkness. And that is calling. The urge is pressed down every time, played with, toyed with, treated like something that doesn't belong here. It's like rolling in the mud, bringing out the twisted, refreshing feeling of demeaning oneself. The key is that we don't want to recognize the depth of the envy and the anger. We cast it out of ourselves. and now it's truly a parasitic monster, impossible to accept as something that came out of ourselves. What if we bring light to the pitch dark as well? What if the scary monster is just a scrawny, starved feeling? What if it's just a little thing, dark as tar, indeed, but to be sorry of, not to be feared? Okay, so what that's addressing is the fact that, this desire, this insatiable desire that you may be currently having for trying to either obtain too much too quickly, being envious of others' achievements. It could be that, there is someone close to you who seems to be getting all the luck in the world, and yet you're still waiting your turn, and because of that, your envy has grown over time to the point where it's manifesting in some really ugly ways. So you need to be really mindful of how you process the success of others around you, because otherwise that's going to lead to all sorts of problems, not only just how you communicate with others, but how you view yourself and the internal dialogue that you have. So it's really important to watch out for that, because this is what's happening right now, and this is something that may also come up over the next 2 weeks or so. So it's important to be mindful of that energy, that you don't fall into the trap of being so envious of those around you, or so just desperate to have what you see others have, that you end up embodying some really ugly characteristics, because that's not you, that's your desire to have what they have. So just be mindful of that energy. So the next one is I Won't Cry For You. It's funny because I actually did a reading for myself last night, and I pulled this card myself, so I'm totally with you there, Aquarius, even though I'm not Aquarius. So, going dark. Breaking up can only be done by two persons. One will do it earlier, maybe, but sooner or later the other will follow. Only one can afford to do it with words and actions. The other will only be able to do it inside her own heart. It's painful, it's definite, it's definitive, it's hard, it's sometimes necessary. Breaking up is not just letting go of a person. You are letting go of a part of yourself, of hopes and dreams and trusts. You let go of feelings and memories. You let go of the emptiness you felt and the connection you relied on to. Anger will help at the beginning, but the last part of the road can't be done by just anger. Closure comes when you dry up your tears. It is a gorgeous moment when you allow yourself to frankly don't give a damn about it. All that was past is not a credit or a debt. It's just suddenly no more than a gift. You can raise your chin. After all, tomorrow is another day. So even though this is kind of very melancholic and very kind of, well, it's really just sad, isn't it? But even though it does have those negative connotations, and there's this, outpour, or at least a recent outpour of emotions, it's actually very cathartic. You're saying that you're coming to a point where you realize that a given circumstance, a situation, a relationship, a partnership, a connection is no longer what it once was. And you're coming to terms with that, and you're letting go. You're letting go of the fact that this situation became toxic. It didn't serve you anymore. It hindered you from getting to where you needed to be, right? And so that's what that's addressing. It's saying that, you've cried your tears, and now you're just being left with the parting memory of what once was, and it's time to basically move on, but allow yourself to still time to process everything that's transpired. But it's okay. It's okay to not feel quite ready to be jumping in the sunshine yet, but it is time to move on and start your journey anew. So it's interesting that these two cards were pulled together, because I feel like maybe there is some overlap between this and this. Like maybe actually you were envious of someone, of the person's achievements, and they really got wind of that and they just couldn't take it anymore. or the fact that maybe this person was envious of your achievements. It couldn't go either way. But I feel like it's likely that they're connected in some way, that your need for more, or their need for more from the other person, is one of the driving factors that led to this dissipation of this connection, the dissipation of this relationship. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, it's very telling, and even though it is hard to deal with, it's also necessary, right? It's going to help you, to dust yourself off and take the next step down your path, because every connection we have serves a purpose, in our life journey. It means that we can go on and, obtain the next lesson, learn from it, test it out to see if we fully understood what was being taught to us, and then we can transcend the learning from that and gain new insight, new knowledge, new wisdom, and move forward. So that's what's happening here. Even though you're coming out of quite a tough circumstance, it is preparing you for something else. So that's the important thing to know. Okay, it's not all doom and gloom. I know it's been rough. I mean, especially with all the transitions we've had. I'm not the biggest buff when it comes to astrology, but I do know a little bit, enough to understand what's been going on for everybody lately. It's been crazy, especially after the Mercury retrograde, all of July, in Cancer, which is obviously, which is my birthday month, so I know it's been rough. And not only that, we had, the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse. It's just been a lot to take in, so I'm not surprised that a lot of people have had, things come to an end, whether it's in a relationship or their living situation or whatever it is. I think a lot of people right now are going through a transition, so I wasn't surprised that these two cards came up for you, Aquarius. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull cards from this deck. This is the Wild Unknown Tarot. And this is really good. I love using this in combination with the Dark Mirror, because it just gives you such a good insight as to what's going on here, especially when you are doing the shadow work, the really difficult stuff, because it comes back to basics. It shows you at its raw form, everything in its raw form. And especially with the naturalistic aspect of this, like with the animals on the cards and, that sort of mother, father, daughter, son connection. I think that's really powerful in terms of this, because it just lets you know that actually we are being supported always, even when we go through the difficult things. Mother Nature is supporting us. The divine is supporting us in whatever context that means something to you. So yeah, it's just really good. Oh gosh, they're all flying out now. It's just a really good deck for this kind of work. And it was actually gifted by my sister, so if you're watching, Stella, thank you so much. Okay. And I do have another deck here, but I won't be using it in this particular reading, I don't think. So, any more messages for Aquarius for mid to late August 2019? Okay. Got some very interesting cards coming out for you, Aquarius. Oh, there's another one here flying. Okay. And the last one for Aquarius, please. For mid to late August 2019. Wow, okay. So what we have here on this side, we have the Lover's card in reverse, right? Telling. Very much to do with this, is it not? Okay. So obviously, as I said, you've just had this relationship. I feel like it is a relationship. It can be a business partnership, it could be a work connection, could even be family, but I feel like this is very much to do with love. So it could be a relationship. And yeah, you just basically coming to terms with the fact that it's not what it once was. Once it was this beautiful, absolutely magical adventure that you were embarking on with this person. And it had all the promise in the world of being really fulfilling. And maybe it really was for quite a time, but now that moment, that's no longer the case, for whatever reasons, likely to be involving this here with the envious gluttony card, that you kind of, either one of you or both of you lost sight of what made it magical to begin with. It may be that you've changed, your circumstances have changed, or their circumstances have changed, that led to change in feeling and how you perceive one another and yourselves. But definitely one of you was feeling like left out in the cold, feeling like this person is doing so much better than me, they're losing sight of me, what can I do? I need to get to their level, how do I do that? And that is actually one of the major things that led to this breakup. So that's what that card tells me. So next you have, in relation to this, you have the Eight of Swords. Now here I feel like this is very much you right now. You're going to have to go into your little shell, your little cocoon, because you will bloom and you will blossom and you'll turn into a beautiful butterfly. You will transform. This is a part of the transformation process. You recognize something either within yourself or within your partner that doesn't serve you, that doesn't help you to live a fulfilled life. It doesn't make you feel positive. It doesn't make you feel loved, right? Whatever it is, something has to go and something has to change. So this relationship is being deaded, essentially. Maybe not permanently, but at least at this point it has to come to a close, so that you may go into this cocoon and really begin the inner work. And that's obviously why you're here, on my channel, right? So yeah, this is what this card is addressing, that, too much has transpired, you're pretty much battle weary, and that, it's time to go in and do the necessary work to get you to where you need to be, because this just cannot continue anymore. It's come to an end. And as if you needed further confirmation, you have the Ten of Wands. So that's also explaining that, this connection is over. That this cannot go anywhere else. There is nowhere else for it to go. You've been through all the necessary emotions with this person, and you've felt a whole array of things while trying to come to terms with this. But the time is now to really just put a close to things, okay? Because you have something new on the horizon. That's the thing. It's not just saying that this is the end and that's it. No, this is the end of this chapter. You have a new one just on the horizon. So it's important to know that, you can't have that new beginning without closing some doors. And this is what this represents, okay? So next you have, so I feel like this is kind of more, I just want to say, this is more addressing where you're at right now, okay? For the middle of August, okay? So this is where you're at right now. You're just coming to this real realization and acceptance, and you're going into cocoon mode, you're in hermit mode, essentially. That's almost like a hermetic card for me as well. You're really just closing yourself off so you can do what you need to do. Next you have the Two of Wands. So that's addressing what you truly want, your true desires, right? This balance, this perfect harmony event between two energies, whether it's you and another person or harmony between two aspects of yourself. I feel like it's relevant on both levels because of what you're coming out of. So going into next week, this is going to be, quite an important energy for you to embody, because that's what's going to help you heal. So it's really about thinking about what is it that that brings me joy? What is it that's going to make me feel how I want to feel again? You know, and I feel like to really get that answer, you have to be willing to go within, right? You have to go within to truly know what matters to you, what it is that you want to transpire. You know, where you want to head to next. You know, what are your priorities? What are your wishes? You know, your dreams, all of that. So the only way you can do that is by going within. Next, you have the Five of Cups in reverse. So yeah, even though you're still feeling very tender and, you know, you're going to have days where you feel like you're on uneven ground, you are really starting to take the necessary steps. There are going to be a range of emotions that come to the surface and you don't feel ready to deal with, but you are equipped to deal with it. You know, and I don't feel like you're going to be alone in this time either. You know, even though you're going to feel like you want to be alone, and that's fine, you can take some time out to yourself. There will be, I feel like you will be getting support. So just be aware that, you know, you don't have to do it alone. There are people, or at least one person that's willing to help you through this difficult time. So if you're feeling particularly vulnerable or in need of some support, you know, don't be afraid to reach out, because there are people willing to help. Okay. And next of all, you've got the Seven of Cups in reverse. So yeah, you really are just letting it all out. You know, you've been probably holding back a lot of emotions for a long time. And now it's at that point where you can't contain them anymore. You have to have that release, you know, because it's just going to help you to process and move on. You know, you have to give yourself the space and the time to do so. It's better than internalizing them. Otherwise, again, they'll come out in some really ugly ways, and you don't want that for yourself. Okay, so do give yourself the space to feel it, but don't harbor those emotions, even as you're allowing yourself to go through them. Once you go through it, let it go. Because if you get into this cycle of, you know, grieving, you're really just going to feel like that there's no end, that this new beginning is not coming. So while it's important that you allow yourself the time and space to grieve, you also need to really spend some time thinking about what you do actually want, because if you only focus on what you don't want, you're more likely to get more of what you don't want, right? So just be mindful of that as well. To just, go through it, do what you need to do, you know, cry into a pillow, write in your journal, whatever it is, you know, talk to your friend or a family member. And yeah, just give yourself the space, and then really think about what it is you want next week, okay? Especially in the latter part of next week, because I feel like there will be some kind of change in circumstance that will give you pause to think, okay, what is it that I do want, okay? So don't wallow in this too much. Allow yourself to go through it, but then, you know, as we get through to the latter part of next week, really do start to think about what it is that you actually want, okay? All right. So this is coming out of next week and into the following week. So here we look at the final week for August 2019. You have the Father of Swords. So again, it may be that your partner represents this energy, that he was such, or she, it doesn't have to be a he just because it says Father of Swords, but this person, whoever they are, or however they identify, they really kind of embodied a very strong masculine energy in your life. You felt like they gave you the strength to do certain things, they gave you the push you needed to move forward, and now that it's gone, you're questioning whether or not you have that within yourself, whether or not that you can stand on your own 2 feet and go ahead with whatever it is that you do want. Of course you do. That's something that's really important to know, that you do have everything you need already. It's just a case of, you know, allowing your emotions to be, you know, processed, and just give it a bit of space and time. And then eventually, you'll feel and look at things very differently, and then you'll realize that actually you always had everything you needed. You just needed to know that yourself. You just needed to realize it. So this is the message here, that while it may be tempting to go back because things were easier in some ways, you didn't have to make all the decisions. You didn't feel like, you had to be the driving force in the relationship. This is your time to stand on your own 2 feet and really think about what it is that you do and where you're headed, your principles. I feel like this is really important in regards to your principles. That you feel like maybe you bent them in order to keep this relationship going, but now it's saying, no, you cannot do that anymore. You need to set clear boundaries, have clear principles. Sorry, I'm really struggling to speak today. And you need to know what you want, what direction you want to head in. So this is something that's really worth meditating on, spending some time thinking about. Because you will get the assistance and support, but you need to know what it is that you want for that to come in, right? Okay, so moving on, we have the 7 of Swords in reverse. So I feel like, again, that this is kind of addressing a similar thing, that because you're afraid of taking certain steps by yourself, you're afraid that you're not capable of achieving something, you're not capable of making the tough decisions, of, standing your ground in what you believe in and, really going for what you want. There is a temptation to do nothing. There is a temptation to just, hide away in your room and just wait it out and hope someone will rescue you. No. You can't do that, right? You just can't. That's not going to solve this. That's not going to deal with the karmic energies here. You really don't want to do that. That's the last thing you want to do. While it's important to take some time away and go inward and do the work, you have to be doing the work. If you just, hide away from the world and expect it to just go away and things to fix themselves, it will never happen that way. You'll just find yourself being brought back into this cycle with someone else. It will just be a perpetual loop. So you really have to address those things, within yourself and the circumstances. That while it's so easy to fall back into old habits and just like, I'll just wait for someone to come rescue me. No, don't do that. You have what you need to process and to move on, but you have to, really be willing to step up. Even when you're feeling afraid, if there's something that you really care about, you really want, you have to be willing to go after it, because it won't just fall in your lap if you're not doing the work. Okay, so whatever that is, really do spend, I would say, the rest of August considering what it is that you want and where you're headed, okay? So just be aware that you'd be very tempted to just retreat from the world and everything and everything to do with the circumstance, but that's not going to serve you, okay? And then finally you have the 2 of Swords in reverse. So again, you're just kind of done with everything. You've been through the mill. You feel like you've been grinded down way too much for way too long, and now it's like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? Like, where do I go from here? I don't see a clear path for me. Well, that may be the case. That's not always going to be the case. Again, if you do this work, if you think about what matters to you, if you think about how you want your life to look, then a pathway will start to open up to you. It doesn't have to be clear where it's leading to. Usually it isn't, and that's fine. You just need to take the necessary steps to begin, okay? To start your next chapter. So this is what this is addressing. That, old habits die hard, but there is an alternative. You don't have to fall into the old cycles. You don't have to fall into old behaviours, And you may get tempted, actually, because I feel like you're going to get some help and support in the middle of the week. You may be tempted to rely too heavily on family members or whoever the supporting individual is. So be mindful of how you come across and that you don't start draining the energy of others. Sorry about that, I just had to restart. So yeah, I just want to pull the overall energy for this month. While it's, there is a lot going on here and it's quite heavy to process, it's important to know that it's going to be very cathartic for you, you know, that actually this is going to serve you well in the long run. It's just that obviously there's some work that needs to be done here in order for you to move forward, in order for you to really get back to who you are. Especially with you, you know, Aquarius, it's like you know, you're very much ruled by your logic and reason, right? As much as you do have emotions, you're able to see past them and see things quite clearly. But I feel like this relationship has become so toxic that you haven't really had the opportunity to do that. At least not lately. I feel like it's clouded that clear vision that you guys usually have. And that's why you're really lost as to where to go from here, what you can do. You don't feel strong enough. Like it's really got you down. And that's why it's so important that it had to come to an end, so you can really pick yourself up again, you know, because that's not who you are. Yeah, exactly. Mother of Pentacles in reverse. So, you know, this is, I feel like this very much represents what you actually are, right? That you have this amazing, nurturing, wise energy about you that, you know, and you do care, and you're able to consider various people and various circumstances, that you're able to use your logic and your reason, but you still have that nurturing, supportive aspect to your character as well. But right now, this is not allowing you to be at your best. It's actually bringing out some of the worst aspects within you. I feel like even though this might not represent you, I feel like there's still going to be a part of this that's relevant to you. So, you know, do apply it as to how it fits. But, you know, I do feel like this, you are kind of starting to embody this a little bit, just because this relationship has been quite toxic. So, you know, this is where you need to be again, okay? And this is what this is doing. This is clearing out all your baggage so that you go from being this to being this, okay? So I hope you find that useful. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching this, thank you so much for taking the time out. This is my first ever reading in this capacity, so I hope you don't judge me too harshly. And yeah, I will be doing a whole host of other readings for you very soon, not just the shadow work, but also to do with knowing your lights, that oracle deck, as well as some other general readings, love readings, etc, etc. So do let me know your thoughts. You know, do hit the like if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe.